I'm going to teach you one of my most favorite command in AutoCAD, and that is going to be used most of the time when you're working with the 3D part of AutoCAD. That's called Polyline. That Polyline has been in AutoCAD since the version 1, and that is a great command. Now you might be wondering, hey, we just learned line command and the Polyline command. What's the difference? Don't worry, we'll talk about this. So first of all, let's draw a line. I'm going to create a line like that. Press spacebar to finish, and I'm going to select Polyline command. I'm going to try drawing the similar kind of thing there. Okay, press spacebar to enter command. If I select this line, you will see I get 3 vertices. So these blue things are vertices, which allows you to modify an object depending on what object is it. I'm going to press escape to deselect everything. I'm going to select this part of the line. Now you notice that I created the line in the same way I created the polyline, but when I select these are separate lines. They're not together. But let's just say if I select the polyline, and it will select the whole thing. A polyline is a connected sequence of segments created as a single planar object. You can create a straight line segment, arc segments, or combination of 2. So what is the difference? The difference is line command creates line object separately. Every time you create a line, like starting point and ending point, that would be one object, that would be one standalone object. But a polyline is going to be one object until you finish the command. So I'm gonna just select the polyline, and I'm gonna draw polyline like so, and I'm gonna press spacebar. Now if I select here, it will select the whole polyline. It's like a one object. Isn't it the difference between line and polyline? We just read this passage from AutoCAD help, which says you can create a combination of arc and line. So if I select this polyline and I select this line, you'll notice a difference in vertex. So in the middle vertex, you see it's just a rectangle, but this one is a bit different. If I click on that and click again, I get to see 3 options. Stretch, which will allow it to stretch like we just seen, add vertex, or convert to arc. I'm going to click on convert to arc, and now as you can see, I can move my cursor and that will be converted to an arc. I can convert this line to an arc as well, so convert to an arc. The way you get these 3 options, if you hover over your cursor on a vertex, then you get to see these 3 options. You can click on stretch and that will just stretch it. This polyline command will be used a lot in a 3D world. When you create a 3D out of AutoCAD, you're gonna have to use polyline because 3D consists of a solid single object, and the 2D will construct that, and that has to be a polyline. Also, if you look at this arrow button, you get to see other polyline type things. For example, this spline fit or spline CV. So let's try those. I'm going to draw a straight line here and another line. Okay, and then I'm gonna go click on this arrow here and select this line, spline fit. Select that, and then I'm gonna just turn off this. I'm gonna just roughly click, 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 click. So obviously there's going to be a use case for this. We will take a look at that when we get to the project, and especially in a 3D world. These things are used a lot. And you also have this spline CV. So it says draw a spline with control vertices. And then this one is draw a spline with the fit points. You also have this construction lines. So this construction line is basically a line which has no boundaries. So it's like it's a infinity line. And that is used when you are creating elevation in AutoCAD. We'll take a look at that as well once we get to the elevation. But just bear in mind, if I select this, I'm going to click, and then either I can, 90 degree or any angle, I can create that. And I can just click and that will create that line. Now if I zoom into, you know, whatever I can zoom out to, it's just infinity. Press zoom E extend, and you can see this line was ignored from zoom extend because this has no boundary. It's like an infinity line in AutoCAD. It's been there for a long time, like since version 2000, I would say, like 20 years ago this was there, and it's still here. So there's definitely use case for this as well. Now we also have this array, so it creates a line at basically creates a line that starts at a point and continues to infinity as well. So this is like a full infinity, like left to right, okay? But this line will be, you know, infinity line from a starting position. I click on that, and I'm gonna just start a line from here, and I can just say create an infinity line from here. So basically, when you're creating a stairs, there's a use case for that as well. So if you have a round case, you can do that. Now we'll just click on this arrow button, and I'll show you this is actually specifying the use case. So just hover over, and you see it's like creating a stairs, and it's showing you where is the use case for that. But there's other use cases for these as well, which we'll take a look at. We also have some other commands like multiple points. I'll click on that, and you just can create multiple points. Now it's very simple, right? You just gotta create a point. That's a little dot there. Okay, I'm gonna erase it. I'm gonna just zoom in a bit to somewhere here, and I'm gonna go back to draw, click, and there is a dot point there. If you notice, there's little dot there, and that's about it for this. And there's a use case. Sometimes you want to have like a dot which remembers the point that you want to attach things to. You can use this. I'm gonna just click on object snapping turn on, and I'm gonna try creating a line, and you'll see I can snap to that particular thing. Well, you cannot. That's because if I click on this arrow button, you have to select this node, and now I will be able to select that. As you can see, I can snap it now, but we haven't looked at it yet. But don't worry, we will talk about that in next chapter. I'm just trying to cover up the commands in the draw panel. Here we got the region that converts an object that encloses an area to a region. Region are basically two-dimensional areas you can create from a closed shapes or loops. Let's not worry about that for now. And we have this wipeout, create a wipe object, not worry about it for now. That's 3D stuff. 3D polyline, that's going to be in 3D pod, don't worry. Helix, don't worry about that for now as well. It's very simple. You just gotta click, create, and then that will give you this kind of helix. And then you gotta worry about these options like axis, endpoint, turns, height, twist. You can play with them and then see what's the use case that you can figure out of these commands. But we will do a use case for these once we get to the project, and also the 3D project. We also seen the donut. So far we have covered pretty much all the commands that are required to create 2D drawings in AutoCAD. We haven't talked about this hatch command, which we need to know before we get to the elevation section, but for now don't worry about that. Also, in the drop down of a draw panel, we covered all the commands, but some of the commands like 3D polyline or helix, we haven't seen the use case because we haven't started the project. Just play with these commands and find out their options available in a command line, and then follow the instruction, and you get to use them. You get to know how to use them. But we will take a look at their use case when we get to the project. Last command in the draw panel we haven't seen is a hatch command. I quickly touch base on that, but we will use this command when we get to the elevation section of our course. To figure out what the hatch command does, I'm going to create a new rectangle. So let's create a rectangle. I'm going to click on hatch command. Some of the commands in AutoCAD will get you new tabs. Like here, we got hatch creation tab, which has boundaries panel, pattern panel, a properties panel, set origin panel, options, close. So expect more tabs to pop up while you use some commands, especially in a 3D world. So here we have a pick points, but before I can click on pick points, I'm going to increase this to let's just say 100 feet. I'm not sure the dimensions for now, but let's just say 50. Okay, and then I'm going to click in this arrow and I'm going to try finding a brick. Okay, and I'm going to just hover over inside the rectangle and you'll see what happens. I'm going to click and there you go. So I'm going to click on this arrow button, which will give us this window where you can see all type of hatch that you can have. Now what hatch requires is a closed boundary. So if I want to apply a hatch, for example, let's get rid of everything. I'm going to get rid of everything and I'm going to create a rectangle. Just take that this is a wall. Okay, I want to show this as this is a brick wall. So what I'll do is hatch. I will select some sort of brick which I like, so I'll use this one. I will specify the hatch scale and I'm going to just hover over my cursor inside the closed boundary and click, and there you go, you have that hatch command. Now if I go and create a line, for example here, create a line, create a line, create a line, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and instead of just closing this from here, I'm just going to click here, and as you can see, it's not a closed boundary. There is like, you know, something's like not close here, so these two lines are not hitting each other. Now if I go to hatch command, I go click pick point and I'll say click, and now it says a closed boundary cannot be determined. So hatch command require a closed boundary, and AutoCAD is smart enough which will tell you, hey, this area is not closed, so close it if you want to apply hatch to it. Now you have a different patterns here. You have a layer section which is in the properties panel, and you can say transparency. You know, just play with this. We will get to this command when we get to the elevation section, and we'll use it properly and with its use case.